and Truth Under Babylon's Empiricism. What up? On here to talk about something I've been talking about for a while. Very important, as most of the stuff I do speak of, I try to make sure there's a certain level of importance that basically renders my time efficiently spent. So, what I'm talking about is where we are going. What is the trajectory of our society? We don't have much time to put pieces together due to the fact that we are so busy within the confines of business. The busyness of business keeps us also busy. So I basically had a few discussions. I have these discussions with different sources, and one discussion I had with a friend of mine basically revealed some prospects, some prospective outcomes when it comes to our society and the automated influence that it has. Augmented reality is the end. The means is what you see. All of the tyranny, all of the confusion, all of the ritualistic deaths, all of the acting, and all of the just propaganda that they put through different media outlets. And not to mention the suppression of information. So, I say all that to say, well, we are the participants in our own prison, our own automated prison, our own free will sacrifice. So, as we go along with our days, working, trying to accumulate the assets that were described and prescribed by our handlers, the icons of witchcraft, which holds our soul and guides us into oblivion, along with the purpose of the money itself. So before I get too far gone, I just need to kind of explain a means to an end, only to give people better perspective on the ideas that I speak of. Pardon me 1 second. So when you think about what we do as far as on a daily basis in general society, business, trade, commerce, and also social interaction, just things like that, in the automated sense, is the control factor that provides access to your information, your life, your abilities, and your future. Like, this gives them access to everything, including your right to travel. And I say that in regard to basic ownership of private vehicles. This conversation I had with a friend of mine basically revealed that within the next uh, 11 to 15 years, private ownership of vehicles will be a thing of the past. And there's reasons which I'll get to. And because of this automated network, you will not be incorporated into the functionality of product transport. And that's all the Matrix is about, is transporting products. This is maritime law here. We live in a maritime type of idealism. And the roadways and highways and byways are actually canals and rivers and just routes of trade in reference and in the literal sense. It's all just commercial trade. Like, you go from one land to another. How do you introduce another culture to another culture's creativity and ideology and just another culture's purpose? You have to cross water to visit these other institutions. You can't, obviously be in one spot and think that, you're going to come up with things that it would take other minds or a certain amount of time in order to come up with. So you must meander throughout the existence, and that's what we are governed by, maritime law. So with this product transportation, We have the automated factor, which creates a place where people are no longer necessary. And that's in all aspects of our movement here. So when we decide that we want to go somewhere, we have no private ownership of vehicles. However, we do have access to transportation, just like you do now. If you call up one of the ride share companies for a ride, and the ride pops up, and you get it and you go. It's just that when they get it to the point where they want it, when that ride pops up, there will be no driver, maybe a hologram, but that's going to be it. But the reason I'm telling you that there's private ownership of vehicles is going bye bye, because you have to have your own discernment. You have to be able to investigate for yourself. Like I said, we're under the constraints of busyness and business, so we don't really have the time to do these things. And which is why you need a whole lot of minds, a whole lot of existence, a whole lot of experiences, so that somebody somewhere could have information that's not tainted by propaganda. That is actual true information that could give you an idea to formulate an algorithm to kind of see where things are going to be, trajectory wise, where things will end up. So private ownership of vehicles is bye bye. Why? Because for one, I mentioned the product transportation efficiency. It makes it really efficient when you take people out of the equation. So what you're going to do is you're going to get rid of so many different aspects of tyranny when it comes to transportation. Accidents go bye bye. Road rage goes bye bye. Drunk driving goes bye bye. Like all these different things go bye bye. I mean, you have so many things to benefit from by getting people out of the way, and they're not going to have completely autonomous vehicles providing service on the highways and byways with human beings in private vehicles on the same routes. The whole idea is to get rid of the error, the human error. So obviously, you're not going to be a part of that transportation process. Like I said, no more accidents, no more road rage, like no more dumb decisions that people make when they get impatient. When they drive, it's like they're playing Tetris. They have to hurry up and fill up a spot, and all these things are apparent within the human condition. We have emotions, we have thoughts and ideas, and things that affect us within society. So to give a human being a robot that's capable of traveling speeds so fast and going so far away, um, to me, was asinine in the first place. You had to create a need for these things in order for them to even be conceptualized. So you create the need first, then you create the thing. That's how you exploit people's minds. That's how you hypnotize them. It's called witchcraft or switchcraft, which is actually what it really is. Anyway, so yes, all these benefits, no carjackings, and just none of the stupid things that happen on the highways and byways here, or just in the cities on the roads. Period. You get rid of all those elements, and this is all happening, as a result of automation or augmented reality, autonomous vehicles. Now, on top of that, you have the geographical implications of this new industry called millimeter wave technology. Millimeter wave technology is what they're talking about with the 5G network. They gave you the 5G, protocols and specs just to give you something to basically, muddle around with and, say, okay, and yay or nay, I agree, I don't agree, blah, blah, blah. But believe me, this network that is necessary in order to power their augmented reality that they have a big idea about, takes much, much, much greater influence than what they're giving us with these specs for 5G. So, so beyond that, the your sovereign right to travel is being impeded upon as we speak, as we focus on other things that they've created for us to look at, between the Fresh Prince smacking Pookie and what's going on in Europe with Ukraine and their brethren, which is basically only a divide on paper and imaginary lines, which is stupid. And I'm not going to get into that because anyway, like I said, there are definitely sacrifices going on in regard to the ritual that happens when it comes to the governance and also the in relation to the society that they govern. There's a ritual, and they must actually have sacrifices and deaths. So what better cover than war and other things. But anyway, um, so geographically, the implications will be states and cities and just some different provinces here. Um, you're going to have some changes going from states and countries, well, yeah, and things like that to districts and zones. And through real IDs, facial recognition, you'll have drone policing in these districts and zones, and you will be designated to your particular zone within your district as per whatever criteria they decide to implement. Now, with these with this drone policing, you basically have to see obviously drones everywhere, including the ones that are going to be delivering your packages or delivering goods to the products of people that they own. So, and then also drone policing with the little Boston Dynamic dogs walking up and down the beat, whatever, and other type of rovers. If there's ever an issue, obviously they have facial recognition, you have the real ID, the magnetic implants for the hand, and also other things that's going to be magnetically attached to you and the network. So therefore, it can identify, obviously interview, um, and if there's any other issues in regard to your status when it comes to law, then they can obviously alert other units for, whatever else, other process that needs to happen when it comes to, apprehending you or dealing with you. And, and this is a visual of our trajectory. And this is exactly what we need to be aware of and push against, because the more we just let things just happen and happen and happen, and they have problem reaction solution and they're in control of that process. We just have reaction with no solution. You know what I mean? And then the problem is just what we talk about. The the byproduct of the problem, the things that go on as a result of the tyranny, is what we talk about and muddle over. And that's just like, it's like food fodder for the bumbling, uh, indecisive manimals that just can't get it together. And that's what we're going to be up until that form of control is a reality. And beyond all that, like I said, um, that type of network, that type of information has to be quick. I mean, just autonomous vehicles alone, like that takes a lot of information transfer, and with our current network that we use, it's definitely not feasible, which is why you don't see it yet. But they do have it planned, but they need to terraform the environment. Unfortunately, they have to terraform the environment in order to fit this type of radioactive uh, area, for them to actually have these signals be light speed and directly connected without any problems, because you're talking about automated everything, autonomous everything, and this is where it's going. And in order to do that, people are going to have some serious issues in regard to radiation. They tell us that you have these little towers every 500 feet to be able to relay the signal and bounce it around corners, because it's a very thick bandwidth of information of frequency, but they can't go through buildings and objects, so they have to go around with these different that sounds very, very impractical. And I actually kind of fell for that too a little bit myself. But I guess that was a sleight of hand to get us to think about those different things. However, um, like I said, through these conversations, and I am not an expert in this field. This is simply a hypothesis in regard to this process. And like I said, I just had some counseling also from a friend of mine. So this is one of the things that he basically gave a disclaimer upon, as far as don't quote him on this. Now, the difference you see in the atmosphere, the difference you see in the weather, is as a result of obviously them seeding clouds. What they're seeding the clouds with is a material, certain metals and things, and they do trickle down to the base, which is the surface. and they have been seeding the cloud for a while, and these elements have been trickling down for a while into generations and generations of us. And so not only have they been, terraforming our bodies, they've been also terraforming the environment. And so this new weather phenomenon we're getting, these new cloud formations and things like that, are basically a sponge, so to speak, a sort of a buffer, um, something to absorb a. And this is where I said it gets a little weird. In the upper atmosphere, a low grade nuclear explosion, uh, harnessed or held by this seeding cloud structures that they're creating, basically blocking out the sun and also turning the sky like a pinkish hue, and it being the radiation being held at that level at some point. Now, how much sense that makes to me? None at all. Was it said? Yeah. And do I have to repeat it? Sure. Why not? If they can spread propaganda, I can put out information that where people can look at and say, okay, let me do some research and see how plausible, or see how much of this can actually be a reality. So I go ahead and put it out there. But yes, a low grade level nuclear device in the upper atmosphere being held by whatever it is that they're uh, seeding these clouds with, these artificial clouds, um, to absorb this and hold this, to basically have a line of sight information transfer between the devices here on the ground and the radio frequencies above. And that would be way more efficient than what they spoke of. Now, that's a little radical, like I said, but it was said, so I gave it to you. Well, folks, just stay informed. Stay well, be well, and please just pay attention.